Hello, class. Now that you have had some time to read this short story by Hemingway, I would like to give some insights or my personal insights on the story. I'll be doing this for each of the stories that we read, but I'll be posting these videos after you've had time to kind of look at the story yourself and develop your own impressions or interpretations of the story. I am a big believer in reader response, which means that I feel that the reader's interpretation is the most important part of reading a story. Even if the author gives an interpretation, I believe that what the reader feels is more important. This doesn't mean that I believe that all opinions or interpretations are valid, just the ones that can be supported with the writing itself. So I'm going to give my take on Hills Like White Elephants. You might disagree, you might have different interpretations, and that's okay as long as you can support that interpretation through the text. So let's get started. One of the things that I like the most and hate the most about this story is the ambiguity of it. It's hard to really determine uh, where the story's going or how the characters actually feel, if they're being genuine in the things that they say. It is very heavy on dialogue, and so it requires a lot of interpretation from the reader to make sense of what's going on here. So let's delve into it. I have some parts of it highlighted that I want to talk about. Let's start with this first part where we actually get white elephants, which is in the title. She's looking off at these hills and she says they look like white elephants. One thing that we know is that in this story, the man is trying to ensure that this woman receives an abortion. So if we look at some symbolism here in Hills Like White Elephants, there are a couple different interpretations or meanings that I can make from a white elephant itself. The first is an unwanted gift. So if we think of this pregnancy as unwanted by the man, it could be represented by that white elephant type gift. But I think a stronger symbolism that I see is that these hills that look like white elephants, I think they represent maybe a more stable life with the man, and this is what she's looking for. She's looking for marriage, kids, something that will help progress further than what they've been doing so far. So she says they look like white elephants. He says, I've never seen one. So again, if this is talking about a long-term relationship, he says, I've never had something like that. And she replies, no, you wouldn't have, because she knows what he's like. She knows that he likes to travel a lot, that he is more carefree than the type to settle down. He responds, I might have, just because you say I wouldn't have doesn't prove anything. I think that, he's trying to say, this is something that we could have in the future. We could have that stable relationship. We could have children. We could get married, spend our lives together. And so I think this is at the crux of the story. She wants one type of life, and he wants life to stay the exact same that it is. If we go with that theory, again, I can only have this theory if I have supporting evidence. So I'm going to look through the rest of the story to see if my interpretation lines up with what we're seeing. Let's go to another part here. Here she says, I wanted to try this new drink. That's all we do, isn't it? Look at things and try new drinks. So she's saying that I'm tired of this life of just looking at new things, trying new drinks, traveling around. She wants to settle down. And then she references the hills again. They're lovely hills. They don't really look like white elephants. I just meant the coloring of their skin through the trees. She again kind of hints at this life of marriage and children, but I think that she is a little bit nervous about bringing this up again. He is obviously not sharing the same beliefs, so she moves on. Should we have another drink? It's like let's just continue on. Let's not talk about this anymore because he doesn't seem too receptive. The next part here, we really see what the story is about before, they're just having conversation back and forth. Here he says it's really an awfully simple operation, Jig. It's really not an operation at all. And I think the average reader will understand exactly what he's talking about. She looks at the ground. You can see that she does not want to talk about this. He continues, I know you wouldn't mind a jig. It's really not anything. It's just to let the air in, which is such an odd expression. Uh, I don't know what you make of this. I don't know what I make of it. But we can see that he's pressing this issue. The girl doesn't say anything, and he says, I'll go with you and I'll stay with you all the time. Now, this is interesting because I believe he means I will stay with you all the time during the abortion. But we can see as we get further on the story, he doesn't mean I will stay with you all the time. Like, I don't want this uh, relationship that you're looking for. And she responds, her first response is, then what will we do afterwards? So again, she's wondering, is this going to last? Is this going to change our relationship? Are we ever going to be like we are, before this pregnancy? He acknowledges that they will, and she says, why do you think this? He says, that's the only thing that bothers us. It's the only thing that's made us unhappy. So for him, settling down, having children, that's the thing that makes him unhappy. You notice that he is using that us and we. He's really speaking for her here. So again, we can see that based on these small snippets, I can better support this idea that he wants one lifestyle and she is looking for another. She wants children, stability, marriage, and he does not. He says these things make him unhappy. One element that also comes up is he keeps telling her, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. It seems like it's in a passive aggressive way because as soon as he says this, then he launches back into it's so simple though. It's so easy. We'll be happy. They go back and forth in this way, and then she says a line, if I do it, then it will be nice again if I say things are like white elephants and you'll like it. He was annoyed when she said it was like white elephants before. And she's saying, at least can we talk about this future of a family and of marriage and of stability? And he says, I'll love it. I'll love it, but I just can't think about it. You know how I get when I worry. And so it's like, I don't want to talk about this now. I want this to be talked about in the future or not talked about at all. And so he is expressing his attitudes or his viewpoints on this type of relationship. I also find this part kind of fascinating where he says we could have everything. She says we can't. We can have the whole world. No, we can't. We can go everywhere. No, we can't. It's like he's saying everything is going to be fine. We can continue on like we've been going. And I think at this point, she's realizing that we can't because we want different things. I can't go on living like this, traveling around everywhere, seeing things, having drinks, no commitment here. And she's starting to realize that this is not what I want. We can't have everything because I can't have what I want and you have what you want at the same time. And it seems that his insistence that they can have everything and that this will fix everything. Once she gets this realization, this is where we see that strong emotion come out from her. She asks, can we maybe stop talking? He presses on and he presses on and he says things like, you've got to realize, which, sounds condescending. It seems like, I am in charge here. I want what I want. And then she responds here, would you please, 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 please stop talking? This is where she's just had enough. She realizes, you are going to get your way. I have no say in it, but I don't want to talk about it. We get a little bit of exposition here. He did not say anything, but looked at the bags against the wall of the station. There were labels on them from all the hotels where they had spent nights. So he looks at the bags. He's looking to this life of traveling around, having fun, no commitment. They are then told that the train is going to be arriving soon. And he says, I better take the bags over to the other side of the station. Okay, so he's saying, we're moving on. We're going to get on this train. And she smiles at him. I wonder about that smile, if it's genuine, if it's a smile acknowledging that maybe this is their last trip together. This is the end of the relationship. I wonder if it's a sarcastic smile. It's possible it could be genuine. It could be that she thinks that this is going to fix everything. Maybe we are moving on. We can talk about this later. However, I get this sense that he is not going to stay with her after this abortion. And here's the reason why. We look at this next part. She tells him, we've got 5 minutes, hurry back after you move those bags, come back and we'll have a beer together. And what does he do? Coming back, he walks through the bar room where people are waiting for the train. We're drinking. He drank an anise at the bar and looked at the people. They're all waiting reasonably for the train. So instead of coming back to her and having a drink with her, he goes in the bar and has a drink alone. I think this shows that, he is not going to stay with her after this abortion happens. He does come back. He says, do you feel better? And she says, I feel fine. And I think what he's saying is, do you now agree with me, or are you still going to fight this? Have we decided that this is going to happen? She says, there's nothing wrong with me. I feel fine. Again, a lot of ambiguity, which I don't like. I want to see the resolution. I want to see what happens. But I also like that I can interpret and that I can make up my own mind based on the evidence. This is, again, my interpretation. Hopefully, you've come up with an interpretation of your own. I played around with a few. I, at one point, thought maybe the hills represented like a pregnant belly. That didn't pan out in certain places as strongly as my other interpretation. But it's kind of fun to see these elements of the story that all align into one common theme. So look for that in this story and in the future stories as well. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and we will continue on next week.